What's up guys, it's Daniel here. Welcome back to the channel. So this is just a quick update of the $1,400 stimulus checks and general news for Thursday, February 11th. So if you're new to my channel, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. So as of today, February 11th, we have passed over 2.3 million deaths worldwide and over 483,000 deaths in the United States alone as a result of the pandemic. With over 107 million people worldwide having tested positive, over 27.8 million of them have been from the United States. And in the last 24 hours, the United States recorded 96,488 new cases. Berkeley professor Robert Reich, who was the Secretary of Labor under Bill Clinton and is the author of a new book called The System, Who Rigged It? How to Fix It, said that 660 billionaires in the United States increased their net worth by over a combined $1.1 trillion since March 2020. He then went on to say that they could give every one of the 331 million Americans a $3,400 stimulus checks and still be billionaires. A tweet he wrote read, "With their $1.1 trillion increase in wealth since March, America's 660 billionaires could give every one of the 331 million people in the United States a $3,400 stimulus check and still be billionaires." On Wednesday, the Congressional Progressive Caucus was able to secure the inclusion of a $15 minimum wage in the pandemic relief package. Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal released a statement saying, "In the midst of a deadly pandemic, millions of American workers are risking their lives for poverty wages that haven't been raised in over a decade. It's long past time for Congress to right this wrong and enact a minimum wage that allows families to live with dignity." The Progressive Caucus has long identified the inclusion of a $15 minimum wage as a top priority for this pandemic relief package. Today, we're pleased to announce that after working with Democratic leadership, we have secured the inclusion of this critical provision in the budget reconciliation package to raise wages for an estimated 27 million low-wage workers and lift nearly 1 million people out of poverty. The CPC thanks Chairman Scott, Speaker Pelosi, and Senator Sanders for working diligently with us to get this done. In the richest nation on earth, there's no excuse to pay workers a poverty wage. Every job has dignity and every worker deserves a livable wage. Some Republicans voiced their displeasure with this news, with Representative Virginia Foxx saying, "Once again, Democrats are ignoring vulnerable, hardworking Americans, choosing instead to favor left-wing special interests and those who support their radical agenda, forcing children to miss out on a high-quality, in-person education while cherry-picking the schools that receive relief and championing a job-destroying $15 national minimum wage hike is hardly bold relief." Georgia prosecutors in Fulton County have opened a criminal investigation into Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the election results. This comes after Trump pressured Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in a phone call to find more votes for him. In the call, he said, "I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have." The letter from Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis said, "This investigation includes, but is not limited to, potential violations of Georgia law prohibiting the solicitation of election fraud, the making of false statements to state and local government bodies, conspiracy, racketeering, violation of oath of office, and any involvement in violence or threats related to the elections administration." Some legal experts have called this phone call extortion, and the call was even cited in an article of impeachment that was approved by the House in January, accusing Trump of attempting to subvert and obstruct the certification of the results of the 2020 presidential election. On Wednesday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said that the real unemployment rate in the United States is closer to 10%. Last week, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that it was 6.3%. Whilst making a virtual speak at the Economic Club of New York, Jerome Powell said, "We are still very far from a strong labor market whose benefits are broadly shared. This pandemic has led to the largest 12-month decline in labor force participation since at least 1948. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that many unemployed individuals have been misclassified as employed. Correcting this misclassification and counting those who have left the labor force since last February as unemployed would boost the unemployment rate to close to 10% in January. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics report, there are more than 10 million Americans still out of work, and approximately 5 million people left the workforce in January. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said on Wednesday that people who have been fully vaccinated with 2 doses against coronavirus will be able to skip quarantine if they happen to be exposed to a person who is infected with the virus. On their webpage, the CDC said, "Fully vaccinated persons who meet criteria will no longer be required to quarantine following an exposure to someone with COVID-19. Vaccinated persons with an exposure to someone with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 are not required to quarantine if they meet all of the following criteria. They must be fully vaccinated by having both shots with at least 2 weeks since receiving the second shot. This is the recommendation, as apparently it takes 2 weeks to build a full immunity after you have received the second dose. They then said, as an exception to the above guidance, no longer requiring quarantine for fully vaccinated persons, vaccinated inpatients and residents in healthcare settings should continue to quarantine following an exposure to someone with suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Outpatients should be cared for using appropriate transmission-based precautions. The CDC then goes on to remind people that they still need to be careful even after receiving both shots by saying, at this time, vaccinated persons should continue to follow current guidance to protect themselves and others, including wearing a mask, staying at least 6 feet away from others, avoiding crowds, avoiding poorly ventilated spaces, covering coughs and sneezes, washing hands often, following CDC travel guidances, and following any applicable workplace or school guidance, including guidance related to personal protective equipment use or SARS-CoV-2 testing. Another report from the CDC has found that double masking and more form-fitting masks can greatly reduce the spread of COVID. The report said that knotting the ear loops of a medical procedure mask, where they attach to the mask's edge, and then tucking in and flattening the extra material close to the face, could improve the fit of these masks and reduce the receiver's exposure to an aerosol of simulated respiratory droplet particles of the size considered most important for transmitting SARS-CoV-2. The receiver's exposure was maximally reduced by 95% when the source and receiver were fitted with modified medical procedure masks. These laboratory-based experiments highlight the importance of good fit to optimize mask performance. The report continued with, based on experiments that measured the filtration efficiencies of various cloth masks and a medical procedure mask, it was estimated that the better fit achieved by combining these two mask types, specifically a cloth mask over a medical procedure mask, could reduce a wearer's exposure by more than 90%. On Wednesday, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said that the EU was not where it wanted to be in terms of handling the pandemic after some issues with organising vaccine supplies left the EU lagging behind other countries. While speaking to lawmakers in Brussels, she said, "We were late to authorise, we were too optimistic when it came to massive production, and perhaps too confident that what we ordered would actually be delivered on time. We need to ask ourselves why that is the case." She continued with, "I cannot even imagine what would have happened if just a handful of big players, big member states, had rushed to it and everybody else would have been left empty-handed." She said, adding that it would have been the end of our community. "The bottom line is that mistakes were made in the progress leading up to the decision, and I deeply regret that, but in the end, we got it right." So far, the EU has passed over 500,000 deaths due to COVID. So that's just a quick update of what's going on at the moment, and I will keep you updated of any breaking news that comes out as soon as possible. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions at all, please leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Also, make sure to click the link below to get your 3 free stocks from WeBull valued at up to $1,600 when you open an account and deposit $100. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe.